Welcome to another episode of the Top Corner Podcast, and today is 1/6/25, which is New Year's.
Perfect start date. Yep, the map of the galaxies, the clocks have turned over, and we've now reached a new quadrant of space time. It's pretty awesome. How do you feel about the new year so far?
Yeah, it is. So far so good. Just the
Really?
6th day.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, just 6 days into the new year. So let's see what this year has for us.
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's check it all out.
That's the only thing I would say.
Oh my God.
Yes, sir. Well, not a lot of news, but lately, I just viewed a rumor. I think Tottenham and some other teams were trying to get Colomwani on loan or something like that. So I wonder how. I guess probably that would be beneficial for him.
Yeah,
in terms of
I know
changing.
United was high on the list as well for another center forward, and it's you get kind of in a bad loop where, like, how many center forwards do you need to try out? Who is beyond repair? I know that you probably saw the Joshua Zirkzee drama where he was booed off by the United fans themselves, which was interesting. People got really upset about it, and while I think that it was a bit excessive from those fans, at the end of the day, like, are you not allowed to acknowledge a bad performance? I mean, when you're pulled off within 30 minutes, it's got to be pretty bad, man. So I understand you not wanting to hurt the kid's feelings, but at the end of the day, he's 23.
Yes,
he's not a kid, so he's
not bad.
He's old enough to have the maturity to understand that if you're pulled off for that kind of a performance, it's got to be pretty noteworthy in terms of how bad it was. And just not being too emotional about it. If it's a 17-year-old, you give the kid some grace. Like when Bukayo Saka was really young, a lot of Arsenal fans gave him a lot of grace when he was not playing well. And then Lamine Yamal, if he's having a bad game, but he's playing at a different. At least
he's produced.
He's playing at a different level already to where you forget that he's 17. You feel like he's 24. Whereas this, it's like, if people think that he's younger than he is because he's frankly not producing at all. So, but I mean, it's obvious that that Højlund is not going to get you the numbers that you want. That Zirkzee will most certainly not get you the numbers that you want. Colomwani, while he's been wasteful for France and for PSG, he is probably an improvement from both of those guys, and it is at least proven that he can produce at least something sometime, which is what they're kind of after there. I had seen that Heung-min Son is being approached by Barcelona.
Okay.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
Because he can play center forward. And he's not the best finisher, but he has some pace. Yeah. So it's like maybe he's a good 1-2 punch with Lewandowski, who is the opposite. And he doesn't have any pace on him, but he never really did, to be fair. But as a world-class finisher, you don't need to replace Rafinha on one of the wings, if you're Son. But having him up front gives you a little bit more of pace to get in behind defenders. And
I wonder if Tottenham will want Son to leave, though.
They probably won't, but I mean, he's been there for so long.
He might want to win at this point.
Yeah, they're on a backslide. Like, I understood everyone wanting to stay in that, like, 2018 to 2020 range of Tottenham. Yeah. Going to a Champions League final is pretty spectacular. And, like, if they succeed at that level, you want to be a part of that. Yes. But ever since then, they've consistently stepped back and back and back, with now being the lowest that they've been in quite a few years, really. So he really has no incentive to stay. He has nothing more to prove there. I don't think that he needs to worry about losing the grace with the fans either. I think that they love him and will always love him.
Yeah, I think they'll understand he wants to win, man. Yeah, nobody wants to play for
you've got to be a really
without winning.
Yeah, you've got to be a really entitled fan base to have won one domestic league title since the 1960s, and then blame somebody for not wanting to stay when you're not producing, when they were the ones that help you get farther than you've ever gone before in Europe. So he's kind of untouchable to them, or at least he should be, if those fans are mature and care about the game and not just the selfishness of their own club.
That is very, very true. I would say let's get this apart from the news and everything, there's not much going on. I thought there would be a lot of transfers shake up right now. I know. Well, at least City, I thought City was gonna try to get some players.
Yeah. And what, the window opened 4 days ago? Something like that? So
by now, I would have thought there would be a lot of shakeup.
Yeah. I feel like we say that every single January, though. Oh, people need this and that and this, but like no one really makes massive moves. It's always very safe moves.
Yeah.
But that said, there are a couple of clubs now that really do need some minor adjustments that are going to make a big difference, and so they need to pull the trigger on those for sure.
Yeah, I guess. But let's talk about Arsenal Brighton.
Yeah.
What did you think about the game itself, and do you feel like? How do you feel, before even talking about the game, how do you feel about the project Arsenal in a sense since Arteta took the team? Do you feel that there is still faith in winning the the league itself?
Yeah.
In the whole, not just this year, but just from an Arsenal point of view and a project point of view, because that was the whole thing. Looking at Arsenal since the team became under Arteta, there were really, really promising times where you felt like, especially when City and had that run, I think 2 seasons in a whole run, you felt like if City just weren't aliens at that point, that was Arsenal.
Yeah, they were playing better last season and the season before that. Part of a rebuild like that, because they did need to rebuild after Arsene Wenger left.
Yeah.
Even though people like to really undermine what Unai Emery did in the short time that he was there, I think it's kind of the flip now, where part of the rebuild is winning titles, obviously, but it's also rebuilding the squad itself. And if you look at the individual talent, this is a more talented squad than late era Arsene Wenger had, than Unai Emery had. Just average, quality of individual players. Yet the particular silverware is not there. However, whether or not they're taking home silverware in the Premier League or not, consistently performing within top 4, within top 3, within top 2 is better to me than being constantly in that like peripheral Europa League kind of like winning the Europa League is a great feather in the cap. I understand that. And Unai Emery has a long history of doing that kind of a thing. Now, I would rather consistently place in second, guaranteed Champions League football. You're not winning any titles, but you're in that conversation more. Yeah, you know what I mean.
I see.
I mean, when Emery was there, they were never really in contention to win the league either.
Yeah, definitely.
And you had guys like, no disrespect, but you had like Shakran Mustafi, Laurent Koscielny, Hector Bellerin, Mesut Ozil, who was not playing like he did at Real Madrid, so you can't even really count him in that. Alexander Lacazette, like there were guys there that were obviously not at that quality, but the whole squad was filled out that way, and there was a negativity around it all. And he does need to start producing silverware, not just quality results for the table, right? But I think that the rebuild of the squad has been commendable. So even if he is let go now, the squad itself is better than it has been in years. Yeah. So maybe it is now a tactical rearrangement, but the squad itself, I think at least, is able to produce better.
I feel like some people are a little bit happy from the fact that at least when they see rivalries right now, or Arsenal, at the point of time when Arsene Wenger was leaving, the top 6 against Arsenal at that time, which will be your Chelsea, United, Liverpool, all these guys, Arsenal used to take a beating. And now they're at least happy that when they play those guys, Arsenal, if they don't come out on top, at least they draw. So it's not more of a beat down per se or an embarrassment. But do Arsenal fans feel like at this point they should at least be winning something with how long they've been tucked in the container race or whatever, And because now you have teams that are now, like, if you think about it, Chelsea, the way they're moving next year, it's gonna be a real.
But see, that's something that for some reason, I don't know why, Chelsea's able to do that. For like, not everyone else can do that. Where, I mean, when they won the Champions League with Thomas Tuchel, they were woeful under Frank Lampard for a good part of that season.
Yeah.
And in December, Thomas Tuchel comes in, and then all of a sudden they win the Champions League. You're like, no one else can fucking do that. I'm serious. Like nobody, everyone else, when someone comes in, you resign to the fact that nothing within the span of that year is really going to happen. I mean, you can climb the table and get results week in, week out, but bringing home any sort of actual accolades is unlikely. But Chelsea is the one that for some reason they can just really languish for one season and come back the next season and not only contend but take something home. And because everyone still talks about the Unai Emery final in the Europa League, which they lost to Chelsea because that's what Chelsea does. And the team feels stronger now. Like I said, both in quality but in how they play together. They're a bit more of a single unit. It was difficult sometimes to really find the approach, but then also the lack of talent keeps you from seeing the actual tactics at play. Kind of like how United under Ten Hag, like it wasn't just the fact that they were directionless under him, but the quality of the players are not quite there to where like you can say, well, at least they're playing their asses off and working for it. It's like I literally don't see what they're doing, and they don't quite have the individual prowess to get away with that. They need a tactic to play as a unit because individually they're not up to the par that club sets.
How about, especially when you watch last game against Brighton, how do you feel about like the time wasting technique that Arsenal kind of I feel like at this point it's kind of like their tactics at some point. It's like every time either they score, because I feel like with Brighton, instead of trying to slowing down things or wasting, they had the potential to get another goal. So and lately a lot of people, especially some other fans and the Arsenal fans understand that, but some other fans are going crazy and talking about Arsenal don't feel like they picked him because they always have this time wasting techniques or tactics. That's kind of, and Arsenal fans actually understand, they don't like it, but it's becoming more of a thing now.
I mean it when it works, but you can't keep doing it at the expense of yellow cards. It's going to build up, and you're just putting yourself in potential situations where, like the Declan Rice situation, where whether or not it's the right call or not, you've allowed yourself now to be within the possibility of a negative outcome for yourself. I don't hate it until it becomes
a problem.
Well, a problem for the team, but also incredibly obvious. Because you can't, like I've seen, Atletico Madrid, whether the ball is active or inactive, you understand it's like, oh well, they're kind of they're purposefully eating up this time.
I think everything kind of does it depending on the situation. So
it's supposed to be an illusion. It's not supposed to be like they're doing it right now. like it's like that's not how it's supposed to work. It's supposed to be increments throughout, steady, not quite I'm gonna literally take 45 seconds to set up a corner. And hopefully I don't get a yellow card. Oh, I got a yellow card? Shit. Okay, well I won't do that again. So it's like it shouldn't come at those kinds of costs.
I feel like Arsenal needs to fix a couple of things, because when I see them playing right now, without certain players, it becomes more apparent that the creativity has decreased. And I feel like if they can fix it, at some point Arteta gotta bite the bullet. Instead of going for players that are more defensive minded, or at least in the back, he will have to go for players that are attacking minded. And you always you'll be blessed to have either or, meaning you will be blessed to have a team that can defend and attack. If you can't have those, you gotta go for a team that can attack. It's more like you can score on us, but can you prevent us from scoring double the amount of what you're gonna score?
Well, and the tactics have obviously changed between this current season and the last two. You can tell that the last two seasons, I mean, injuries, depth on the bench were issues, but the high energy play style, it was high intensity. It was constantly making runs to put the ball in the back of the net, and you didn't feel as if they were as concerned at being countered or potentially conceding. And they do feel that way now, and it's taken a bit of that push out of them. And that's what I think is limiting their creativity. It's not so much that they don't, because they have the same players. Although I think that if Martin Odegaard's fit, you start him, just like Bukayo Saka, especially if Saka's already not there.
Yes.
I don't know why you have Odegaard coming on in the 64th minute.
Why starting Partey as a defensive guy? Because when you look at the games, or even statistically, when Partey starts in the middle, there's more of a battle in the middle for Arsenal to conserve the ball than it is when he's not there.
I thought he played relatively well at right back, though.
No, I'm not saying he didn't. He didn't. I'm just saying that you could have. Although I understand they have a lot of players out, but you could have played Lewis Kelly.
Lewis Kelly, yeah.
At the right back and let him play in the middle, so at least you could get that battle of the midfield.
I think that he's trying to really make Mikel Merino more comfortable.
Yeah,
by giving him extra minutes.
Okay.
And the issue that you run into at that point is, I mean, the Premier League itself, it's difficult to find those teams to play against where you can say, okay, go get warmed up. It's like there's kind of no warm-up games in the Premier League.
Yeah.
That's kind of why it's the league that it is.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Yes.
And especially against Brighton, who have a history of performing very well against the Big Six, especially at home. It's like, to me, you still need to field your A team here, especially when your top assist maker and your top goal scorer is out. You don't allow that middle three to consist of Jorginho, who plays well.
Yeah.
But if you're worried about being countered, I don't know if that's the guy that you put in the fucking middle.
That's true.
I mean, he's right there for it. When Declan Rice is fit, you start him. When Odegaard's fit, you start him. So if anything, Rice needs to sit in the center. You know, and because he's a little bit pacier, he can help relieve the counter if it presents itself. I thought that Partey looked pretty fit though at right back.
No, he did,
because usually his pace is the issue.
Yeah.
He looks as if he's getting back into a really good form. But yeah, you can just tell that they're being more conscious of conceding goals than they were the last two seasons, and I think that it's sort of like when you get the yips. Do you know what the yips are? Like an athlete that's they're performing at such a high level, and it's almost subconscious. They're almost not thinking about it. That when they start to overthink it, they start losing a lot. It's like they almost didn't care for 2 whole seasons if they were going to concede, because it wasn't a reality to them. How are you going to get the ball if we're just going to smother you and absolutely destroy you with like smothering possession and high-paced attack? We're not even worried about conceding goals, even though that play style opens you up to counters. But now that they've been countered once or twice, they're over aware of the fact that it can happen, and now they seem scared to really push in that final third. So for me, it's a mix of lack of creativity, certain people being out, but also it seems like they're purposefully removing themselves from that top gear for safety. But at the end of the day, you're still conceding goal. Like, you're not conceding an insane amount of goals, but this is not helping you. This is not helping you either score more goals or maintain clean sheets. So the energy and the pace and the tempo that you're trying to set needs to change, I think, more so than any particular arrangement of the squad.
When you look at Liverpool, Manchester United, do you feel like this game was more of a standard game for United to improve from this game? And since the draw against Liverpool, it was more of, okay, this is what we can do, and from now on, let's elevate our standing or our game from this draw to the wins, because we can see what we can do. And because Liverpool, we can say they didn't have any play. They had all their players on the field. All the big guys. And United, it felt like United once had that battle in them. You could see in their eyes, you could feel it. They wanted to win. They wanted to play. And this is becoming more of, well, not becoming, because we need to see this a lot more, but it at least shows that this might be in the future the United we will be seeing. Yeah,
I think that United played much better than they're used to lately.
Yeah,
and Liverpool played very poorly for what they're used to lately. I think that when you meet in the middle, this is the result that you get.
Yeah,
and I do think that there is something to United really responding well to being underdogs, despite their history, the club's history, them being one of the last things to be considered underdogs. But this group of players seem to respond better that way.
Yeah,
they won't have this level of nothing to lose. Let's just go at it and see what happens against a Fulham.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Especially true. away from home or fucking at home. Sometimes they get caught up. Like, these guys don't seem like they want the actual, at times, responsibility of holding the weight of the club on themselves. That's what you have to do.
Yes.
When you play for Liverpool, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, like, part of the price that you pay is accepting the history of the club and saying, like, yeah, you do have to reach that level week in, week out. That's the point of what that badge means. And a lot of these guys don't really like that feeling. They like feeling like Ajax.
Yeah.
In like in like 2019 of like, no, like, you don't expect anything from us and we're going to show you.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, yes, we don't expect anything from this version of United, but we do expect things from United. So you've got to eventually maintain that performance. So I do think that it was a bit of that nothing to lose. And they all played very well.
Yeah. I feel like this was one of the few lineups that United had put on that looked like they could be potential adversaries for any team,
because it was like, well, like in their mindset, if you look at them, like, what do they have to lose from giving 100? Like, they're already expected.
Yes,
the worst outcome is already what's kind of expected. You're expecting a 4-0 at Anfield, so why not go ahead and try new things? Why not go ahead and push harder, be a little bit more chancy? Because you're not stopping, you know. If they're going to dominate you, you're not stopping the bleeding. You're not mitigating loss. Yeah. Whereas when you're playing Ipswich or you're playing Wolves, there is that feeling of like, no, we are expected to not only operate at a high level on offense, but like, we've got to shut them down. Like more is expected of you in individual elements of play.
Yeah.
Whereas here it was expected just like, just don't make it 8-0. And that when that's all that you're having to worry about, really, you feel a bit more free.
Yes.
Maybe not confident, but just more free and less feeling like you're tethered to an individual position. And so
I think someone like Garnacho, Eriksen, and Jersey, I think for now they need to be subs instead of regulars.
Yeah. I think Garnacho's always kind of responded well as being a sub.
Yeah. So. Just because sometimes they take a long time getting into the game. Most of the time they might not, and also just giving United a chance to kind of fight, have that battle in the midfield. When you have Ugarte and you have Meno, I feel like they have more of a chance to do that, especially when you watch that game. And right now, I think I don't know if he's gonna do any transfer in summer, but I feel like if the group of, the squad they have now improves, then they will really do something next year.
Yeah. I mean, so that's actually one thing, especially with this performance. But you look at the shape, like the formation that they played, and who's actually out there. You know, what do they need desperately now? Because it doesn't feel like they need that many things desperately anymore. It really does feel like the main missing piece of this puzzle is the center forward.
Yes, I always felt like this United really didn't need anything apart from the passion to play, because it just felt like they were on the field, no one wanted to play. People were just jogging around. No passion, no fire in them, no fight at all. And because when it's like that, it's difficult to know who you want because no one is playing.
Well, and they needed somebody in the midfield to do all the thankless things. Yes. And Ugarte is the guy that's doing that. It felt like everybody wanted to be overly in charge of what they can do, and wanting to be the impressive player, if they didn't have the ability to shine the brightest, then they're just going to kind of sit back because they don't want to put themselves out there and then fail to succeed and then be ridiculed for that. Manuel Ugarte seems like he's able to do all of the little things that make everybody else free. Mm-hmm. In that, especially him working so close with Diallo, Amad Diallo, that frees him up to do a lot of interesting things, and I think that's helped out Mazraoui as well.
Yes,
Mazraoui's been able to move a bit more forward. He's showing that he's a bit more athletic than I think he did when he first got there. But all of that is because Ugarte's in the middle of the park cleaning up a lot of mess. And that's what we thought Kobbie Mainoo was going to be doing. Mm-hmm. They work really well in the midfield together.
That's why I always said, even doing when England had Kobbie Mainoo on the top, I said sometimes you can see the one things that he would do well. But he's not. He should be a defensive midfielder. You can see it in him because he's really great with the ball. But for someone that's a defensive midfield, it don't really matter if you off the ball, your movement is not that quick. Because the point is to defend. But people that are playing at the attack, if off the ball your movement is not good, it's a no, because what do you do when you don't have the ball? How do you play? So I always thought, at least with that, he could be a perfect balance in the midfield. So that's why I think with Ugarte it works well, because more technically going forward, and then you have Bruno Fernandes at the top just taking
and in the back line, it's unfortunate because I do think, or at least 4 years ago or so, that of the De Ligt, Martinez, Maguire trio, that De Ligt was the best and had the highest ceiling. It's unfortunate that he seems like the one in this starting 11, aside from the center forward issues, which that's a different thing. That's having a really tough time performing at a certain level that's expected of him. Maguire stepped up a little bit. He's still not playing great. Lisandro Martinez has a ton of mistakes in him. I think that everybody's finally realizing it. I spent all of last season going, am I fucking crazy? Am I crazy? Because everyone's saying that he's one of the best in the league. He never was. I'm not saying that he was playing as bad then as he is now. But great. He snuck in a goal. It was a good shot. He kind of comes out of nowhere. And Trent Alexander-Arnold kind of let him, I don't know if you saw what Virgil van Dijk said about everything.
But I didn't see exactly what he said, but on the field you could feel like he was fed up. CAA. That's how I call it.
He basically said all of the goals we conceded were lazy defending. And it's like
and that's on
and they all kind of switched off, especially on that first goal. But you're like, that's the guy marking everyone. And I don't know why he cut back in to the center back position and left Kanade out on the wing. You should have transferred that before you got closer to the 18-yard box. Because even though you're not the best defender, your center back needs to be in the box, whether his knee is bad or not. That's where he belongs. That's where he's comfortable. And that's where his positional awareness is.
I wonder if he's also done because he wants to leave.
I've never understood that excuse. To me, that makes a bad player.
That's true. I'm not saying some players don't do that, but some will do that. So I'm not exactly sure if that's his motive right now, but.
I think it's also just that he's not a good defender.
I always knew
he never has been. So
he has never been he's just really good at he's really good attacking minded, but defensively he's very, very mediocre in a sense. So I don't know if he wants to go to Madrid. Then again, Madrid is adding good. They're adding a good right back. In the sense that yes, for counter attacks and all these, but what about defense? That's another point.
They're gonna need to see about it.
So Valencia, Madrid, that was an interesting game for some people because they like the fact that Vinicius Junior was sent off because since he complains a lot. And many people were happy that, oh my goodness, get him off the field. Did you see that when he pushed the goalkeeper
and then he got in the referee? He got in the referee's face, which that was worse to me. I mean, like the push, it's stupid. I don't know why you do that. But he's had a track record of allowing himself to be very emotional. And make very immature reactions. Now, a lot of people will still say that it's validated that his fly is going crazy in any circumstance is validated because of the history of what fans have said to him. Now, to me, it's a case-by-case basis. If somebody says something to you and you get mad in that moment and it has that connotation to it, that doesn't mean that in 2 years when a player pushes you, you can get mad because of what happened years ago when one fan said it. But this is a player. They don't know each other. The same thing wasn't said to you. You don't get to wear that as a badge. I've been racially abused for, several times in a league for years that now I can kind of slap anybody on the pitch that I want because that happened to me once. That doesn't work to me.
I think also it goes, the fact that some fans are not happy, it's also because he kind of complains a lot. Whether it's just flopping around or just,
do you think that he actually complains a lot?
Actually, so it's a 50-50. I think sometimes his complaints are normal when you hear it, but I think that because sometimes it's not really it's not really necessary. And when they see that, especially some fans that, some people don't want to be engaged in the socially activities or whatever. So they'll come by now and they'll be like, oh, this guy just complains a lot. There's some people that feel that way. Some people might be always justified, but the fact that you will do something like that is the reaction that we don't want as the whole soccer, football community, because at the end of the day, this is a sport, right? We are supposed to play, and if you get mad, okay, but there's no point pushing people on field and doing all this. So I think that's
and
why
you can't touch referees in any sport. It's nothing new, so I don't know why he thinks that he can do that regardless.
See, they are lucky because they've never had someone like Colina. Colina will give 5 yellow cards, 7, he wouldn't care. He just give them like your cupcakes. So that's the thing. But apart from it, yet again, like I was reading this, he said, I did not believe in black magic earlier, but F me, where do I sign up for the weekly mass? Just because Madrid did a comeback again, and it's become more so of their thing. It's like you don't get to say you won until the final last whistle.
Especially while Jude Bellingham's out there for some reason. That's just he just
got that thing. I feel like some players, when you get to a certain, it's like being in the zone where at any time things just works for you. It don't matter how you do it.
And we said it a lot last season as well, because I mean, like he was scoring how many, like 90 plus, like in the stoppage time of the, he's whipping these things in, and it's just because he refuses to give up on plays.
That's true.
But he was also in a position where he was an attacking midfielder that didn't overly require him to step back to avoid any sort of counterattack on the transition. So it allowed him to be able to kind of stay in a forward position and not give up when most midfielders would have to retreat back for coverage and safety. But I mean, I think that he's just so used to being able to do that now it's kind of second nature to just not give up on these plays, when I think maybe it's even your positional responsibility to give up on the play.
Modric is still showing that he aged like fine wine. Says that he will, and I feel like the way he's been used now, it's exactly how you will use someone of his caliber, where you won't want to play him 90 minutes because he might not have it anymore in him, but the few things that he has in him, you put him in 20 minutes, you guys are
because he's basically a coach on the field, and if he's been watching the game for 75 minutes, he knows exactly what needs to be done out there, and he has the legs for the last 20 minutes to be able to do it. That's exactly who you want out there, is the game manager. He's been watching from the sideline going, yep, okay, I understand. Like, you don't have to tell him anything.
Saying that, just remember, it's like when I think when Madrid played, I forgot who they played, and he told Mbappe to basically just go this side and I will send the pass, and he sent it, and it was like, okay, he's knowing what he has to do, and he does it very well. So all right, that was it for the recap, and I don't know when the Champions League starts. Is it this week or next week?
Next week.
Next week, right?
Yeah, let's go ahead and review those really fast. It's in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, okay, that's pretty good.
The 21st and 22nd, the big matchups. If you're interested, we have Monaco and Aston Villa. That's kind of cool. Atletico Madrid and Bayer Leverkusen. That'll be an interesting one.
I want to see how Leverkusen responds.
I was going to say
that defend.
One's going to try to be so exciting, and the other one's going to make me hate watching the sport. And then on the following day, PSG hosts Man City.
Ooh la la.
Which that's 3 massive points to see who gets in, because Man City's on the periphery and PSG's one outside of the circle looking in. AC Milan and Girona could be interesting if Girona's going to bring what they brought last season. I mean, there's some other matchups, but those are the big ones. PSG, Man City will be massive.
How about the Barcelona, Madrid, and all the like?
Barcelona have Bayern Munich is being hosted by Feyenoord.
Okay.
And
that's easy.
Barcelona is being hosted by Benfica.
Yeah, I feel like, why do I feel like Barcelona had all the easy guys?
Yeah. At the end of the day, they're still producing the results, though. And that's the
that's true.
And Real Madrid are hosting Red Bull Salzburg.
Yeah, I wouldn't count those. Yeah. So I think PSG City will be a big one.
Yep.
That's basically. Yeah. I would say next week, catch us again on the Top Corner Podcast. Go on our YouTube.
Hit him with the gunshots. Subscribe.
Yeah.
Subscribe, motherfucker.
Okay. Yeah, go on our YouTube, TikTok, and every other platform. If you don't want to see our faces, go on our Spotify and listen to us.
I want to see our faces.
All right. Have a good one. See you guys next week, and Happy New Year.
Goodbye. Time is fleeting.